If you've ever felt overwhelmed trying to figure out which workouts to do, how often to train, whether you should push irons in the gym or do Pilates, or if you even need cardio, I got you. Hello and welcome. If you're new here, I'm Hannah. I have certifications in fitness and in nutrition. And in this video, I'll show you exactly how you can design the workout routine that works for you, for your goals and your schedule, step by step. So the best workout plan is whatever you can do consistently, because consistency is key, because seeing results takes a little bit of time. And if you're choosing a plan or you're following some blueprint plan that doesn't work for you or that you just hate doing, you won't follow through in the long run. And if you don't follow through in the long run, you won't get results, or at least you won't keep the results. And that's why, as a first step, you should assess your lifestyle and your weekly and daily schedule. Ask yourself on which days in your typical week you can carve out time for exercise. You can also do this vice versa. Just ask yourself which days are totally packed already, or where you know that you won't get yourself to work out, and cross them off your list. And then you have the rest of the days where you know these days are going to be your workout days. And be realistic here, even though people say, including me, that you should work out at least 3 times a week. Be realistic. If it's only 1 time or 2 times a week, that's better than nothing, as long as you're consistent with doing that. And when you have your days, ask yourself how much time you have on those days to spend on exercise. And even if that's just 10 minutes, be realistic and write down on which day you have how much time. And yes, even just 10 or 20 minutes is still better than nothing. There was a time when I only did like 20-minute workouts, and that was at the time still pretty effective. Then decide at what time of day on those days you're gonna exercise. For many people, the morning is the best time. First, because our willpower is the highest in the morning. So it's the least hard to actually get ourselves to work out, because it's just a thing that we do first thing in the morning after breakfast or after a small snack, at least for women, because you need some energy for your workout. But maybe you're not a morning person and you know exactly that you could never get yourself to work out first thing in the morning, or your schedule just doesn't allow it because you have to be at work at 6 a.m. already. Some people like to work out in their lunch break before eating lunch, and other people like to work out in the evening before dinner. Just make sure that whenever you work out, after that you have time to eat something, because you need to refuel your body after your workout. That's why many people like to either work out before breakfast, before lunch, or before dinner. The only thing that I do not recommend is working out after dinner, which I heard that some people do. And that's because, first, like I said, you need to fuel your body after you work out. And second, when you work out too close to bedtime, that's gonna make it harder for you to fall asleep or to really get a good night's sleep, because your body is in a state of alertness, because you just put a lot of stress on your body by working out, and now your body thinks that it's time for action and not for rest, and that's not what you want if you want to get sleepy and have a good night's sleep. So if possible, try to work out not closer than 3-ish hours to your bedtime. For example, I currently like to work out 5 times a week for 45 to 60 minutes with 2 active rest days. Active rest days is something I'll talk about later in this video. And I currently work out Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays, because on Mondays my schedule is usually pretty full, and on Saturdays I want to do other things, so I use those 2 days as my rest days. And up until like 2 months ago, I used to work out in the morning after having a little snack, but currently I'm not feeling morning workouts. I'm either doing evening workouts right before dinner, or, which I've come to love recently, is the pre-lunch workout, which for me really works good because I work from home, so I'm flexible. I can go to the gym whenever I want, and then I can have my big protein-rich post-workout meal for lunch. But I like to keep it flexible, because I know that I will work out my 5 times a week, because I'm motivated / disciplined enough to actually follow through, so I can keep my workout schedule a bit flexible. For some people, however, keeping it a bit flexible might mean that you won't follow through, and that you will tell yourself, I can't now, I will do it later, and then at night you get tired, so you say maybe tomorrow, and then you get into that rabbit hole of not following through. So be realistic and really ask yourself, if you can keep it flexible, then that can really help sometimes to make it a bit easier to follow through. But for other people, it might make it harder. So a good middle ground might be for you that you promise yourself certain days where you are going to work out, and if you haven't worked out in the morning or around lunchtime, that you will work out before dinner, no matter what. unless you're sick, obviously. And in the beginning, if you don't trust your discipline, write it down. Really write yourself a schedule like you used to do in class, in school, when you're gonna work out, for how long. And when you know that, it's time for step number 2, which is deciding what you're gonna work out. So the main 2 types of workouts is strength training and cardio. And which of those 2 things you should do, how many times a week, for how long, depends on your goals. But there's also a kind of general formula that works for most people. But first, let's talk about the pros of strength training. So by strength training, whether that's pushing irons in the gym or doing Pilates or bodyweight workouts or calisthenics, you help your muscles to grow, which is good for many things. First, your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, goes up, meaning you burn more calories even when you're doing nothing, just by your muscles being in your body. Also, your body volume shrinks because muscles are more dense than fat. They're not heavier than fat, which is something you might hear here and there. They're just more dense, meaning they look smaller, even though you weigh the same. And also, strength training is incredible for bone density, joint stabilization, and a lot more. However, with strength training or resistance training, you don't burn that many calories. Cardio, however, does help with burning calories because when you run, bike, or swim, you burn a good amount of calories. More, in fact, than when you do strength training. However, with strength training, you don't burn the calories while working out, but you have that little afterburn where you burn calories also when you're not working out, plus the muscles burn calories just by being in your body, sort of. But next to the burning calories, cardio is very, very good for especially your heart and your lung health. And for many people, it's also a remedy for mental health. And then for strength training, there are different types that you can do. For example, lifting weights at the gym or doing Pilates. And all of these types do help with getting stronger, but there are more effective types than others. In general, lifting weights is more effective than bodyweight workouts. But still, if you hate lifting weights but love Pilates, do Pilates. The main thing you should focus on is the burn. If you feel the burn, if you feel that your muscle is tired, if you really use your muscle until it basically fails, that's an effective workout then. And for cardio, there's various types. Basically, anything is cardio that elevates your heart rate. Regular cardio, like running for example, is not worse or less effective than high intensity interval training, but HIIT workouts are more time efficient, meaning you get the same or a similar effect in less time, including the burning calories thing. But again, you should choose whatever you like best in order to follow through. If you hate HIIT workouts, don't do it. If you love dancing, go to dance class. So now, what should you do? Weight training or cardio? That depends again on your goal. For overall health, cardio is very good. For weight loss and or muscle growth, it's not necessary or not really helpful, because while it burns calories when you do cardio, doing cardio usually also makes you hungrier, so you tend to eat more. So in general, it's not the best thing for fat loss. Strength training, on the other side, is recommendable for anybody, no matter what your goal is. Whether you want to lose fat or gain weight or just get stronger or just get healthier, help your body with inflammation, because yes, strength training also has anti-inflammatory effects on your body, or just do, something for your overall health, for your sleep, for your mental health, everything. Strength training is king. So for example, if your goal is to tone up overall, meaning get stronger, get lean, but also lose a bit of body fat, an example routine could be 3 to 5 times of strength training and 1 to 2 times a week of cardio. Or what I currently like to do is sprinkle in some sprint intervals after strength training. So currently 1 or 2 times a week after strength training. That's very important. Don't do cardio before strength training, never. Also not as a warm-up, but more on that in a second. After my strength training, I go on the treadmill and I sprint for 20 to 30 seconds. Then I walk for a bit or jog. Then I sprint again, and I do that 2 to 4 times. And that really increases my heart rate. And then after that, I like to walk for 15 to 20 minutes on the treadmill. So for example, what I like to do is have a little upper and lower body split, which means that I work out my upper body on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and my lower body on Sundays and Wednesdays, and then I do cardio on Fridays. Or I do a third lower body workout on Fridays, whatever I feel like, because I'm really not the biggest fan of cardio, to be honest. But I'm trying to get myself there because my heart and my lungs need it. And then I do active rest days, meaning on the days where I don't work out, I try to move even more than I usually do, which is sometimes a bit of stretching, but mostly walking. It's always recommendable to walk as much as possible, but especially when you don't work out, but you still want to keep your body moving, it's good to aim for those 10,000 steps a day. But it doesn't have to be 10,000 steps a day. Just try to be active on your rest days. But don't strain your muscles and don't strain your heart on those days. Your body needs rest. Don't overdo it. Okay, now that we talked about the when you're gonna work out and what you're gonna work out, let's talk about the how. And since cardio really depends on your level, whether you should do 20 minutes run or an hour long run, and how fast you're gonna run depends on whatever you can do. In this section, we'll focus on strength training. First on strength training at the gym, and then alternative ways like bodyweight exercise or Pilates. So when you go to the gym, make sure that you give your muscles at least 1 day of break in between. So if you wanna do a full body workout, you can only work out 3 times a week, because there always got to be 1 day in between your workout days. But if you want to work out more often, like me for example, what you can do here is a so-called split, meaning that you train only a specific group of muscles 1 day, and then the next day you train another group of muscles. There are many different ways you can split those muscle groups. The easiest, and I think best way, at least for me, is the upper and lower body split. But some people also like to do a push and pull split. Do whatever works for you. And here are some of my favorite exercises for both the upper and the lower body. And I personally train my abs when I train my upper body, but I've also seen other people train with their lower body. Just choose whatever works for you, but you do not need to specifically train your abs. If you do complex movements, like for example push-ups or pull-ups, you always kind of also use your core to stabilize, and that can be totally enough for your abs. Unless you really want to, get that six-pack, then it helps to specifically train your abs. And these are some of the most effective ab workouts. And what I like to do, because I hate working out my abs, I always put on a short 5 to 10 minute YouTube video, usually by Pamela Reif, because her workouts are very efficient. Okay, now that you know which exercises you should do for your upper and for your lower body, let's talk about the specifics. So for each exercise, you do a certain amount of sets, and each of those sets consists of a certain amount of repetitions. A good starting point is to start with 3 sets per exercise, and within each set you do 8 to 10 repetitions, and between those sets you do a little break of about 60 to 90 seconds. And for weight, you should choose the weight with which you can barely make 8 to 10 reps. So make sure that the weight is heavy enough that you cannot just lift it like this, but to actually tire out your muscle to make it fail when you get to the 8th or 10th or 9th repetition. Just make sure that that last repetition is still clean, so your form is still good. If you're unsure about your form, when you're at the gym, you can ask the trainers there to show you exactly how you should perform that certain type of exercise. And they can also watch you and tell you if your form is still being correct, if you're still doing the last repetition as you should be doing it, or if it's maybe too heavy and then do 1 repetition less or lower the weight. Now there's a lot of science behind how heavy your weight should actually be, how many repetitions you should do, how many sets, how long the break between the sets should be. But this is a bit too detailed and usually not necessary, especially if you're a beginner, but even if you're advanced. If you aim for 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps with 60 to 90 seconds of breaks in between, you should be fine. And then just focus on the weight that it really tires out your muscle, and then make sure after a couple of weeks at most, when you feel like that weight is getting too easy, or you can do 12 reps or maybe 14 reps, choose a heavier weight, because you always need progression in order for your muscles to keep getting stronger. And how many different exercises per session you should do depends on how much time you have, but I always recommend between 4 to 5 different exercises. Now when you do those strength training exercises, you do need to warm yourself up. But in many gyms, the trainers still recommend you to warm up by doing cardio, for example, the cross trainer or the treadmill. And I do not recommend this. Instead, what I recommend is to do your exercise that you're gonna do, for example, squats, but without the weight or with a very light weight, depending on what kind of exercise you're doing, to warm up exactly those muscles that you're gonna target. Then maybe add some weights, like maybe 5 kilos, and do around 20 repetitions with that very light weight. And then your muscles are warmed up, and then you can add the weight. For body weight, if you like to work out at home, for example, or if you like to go to a Pilates class or yoga class, the most important thing that I can tell you is to make sure that it burns. If it doesn't burn, which it doesn't in many Pilates classes, at least the ones that I've been to, it's not very effective. It's still fun, it's still calming and relaxing, but it's not effective for muscle growth. But there are Pilates exercises and yoga exercises and bodyweight exercises that can be really effective, and you know that by feeling the muscles burn. And when I used to do bodyweight exercises at home, which I did for a while, a few years back, I like to use YouTube videos, especially by Pamela Reif, but there are also a lot of other very good fitness YouTubers. Just pick the videos or the YouTuber that you like, that you vibe with, that you will actually have sort of fun doing the workouts, and pick as many videos to fill the time that you have for your workout. And then when you know when you're gonna work out, what you're gonna work out, and how you're gonna work out, it's important to make sure that you progress. And that progress can look very different. For example, you can lift heavier weights, but also you can do more repetitions. But also you can do tougher moves, more difficult exercises, or go for a longer run, or run faster if you want to train cardio. No matter how you do it, it is important to challenge your body, because if things get too easy with your workout, you should make it harder again. And when you have your perfect workout routine, do not make the following mistakes. Otherwise, it's kind of all for nothing. First, biggest mistake, especially beginners make, or the people who are very motivated with the new workout plan, is to not take enough breaks. Your muscles, your body, your heart, your lungs, your whole body needs breaks. Resting is just as important as working out. And that's why you should at least have 1, if not 2 days per week where you do not work out anything. Walking does not count as exercise, because that's not straining on your muscles, nor on your lungs, nor on your heart. The second biggest mistake that many people do, and I used to do too, years ago, is to not adapt your nutrition. Even if you don't want to lose fat or gain a lot of muscles, you still need to keep your nutrition in mind, because especially if you don't eat enough protein, your muscles won't grow, because protein is the building block for muscles. And I used to do that mistake. I used to work out so much and not eat nearly enough protein. And I was just wondering why I was not, looking muscular or, lean at all. But I was just skinny fat for years. So eat protein, and also eat enough carbs around your workout to fuel your body for your workouts. And the third biggest mistake people make is to not adapt when something's not working. Whether that's you're not seeing progress, or it's too much, you're feeling overwhelmed because you put too much on your workout to-do list. Adapt. Go slower. Do less. It's fine if you only work out 10 minutes twice a week. As long as you keep doing that, you're making progress. And I know it sucks to hear if you're anything like me and are incredibly impatient, but consistency is key. Good things take time. So however you design your workout plan, make sure it's realistic and then stick to it. If you do that and follow the tips that I just gave you and don't see results after 3 months tops, leave a comment or DM me and I will scrutinize why it didn't work, because it will. Or I'll buy you chocolate or, something healthier than that. But I do believe in you. You got this. I hope you found this video helpful, and I will see you in my next one. Happy training!